Football Show with Burger King. Watch live at 5 p.m. weekdays on YouTube. Join the conversation on 0808 17 17 700. Talking Scottish football first.
Good evening, everyone. This is Paul Cooney, Monday to Friday tonight with Peter Grant, the Celtic and Scotland legend, and the legend that is Mark Guidi, the former president of the Scottish Football Writers Association. Well, James Forrest, is he going to be here next season? James Tavernier, will he be here next season? And what about the Peter Grant Cup final, better known as Dunfermline Athletic against Celtic? Peter, at the weekend, I mean, most of your career, so much of it was at Celtic, but you've got a soft spot for the Pars as well. What an achievement for them to get to the final.
Incredible. You know, you think of the results they've had, not just at the weekend, Paul. And I said last week I fancied them.
Yep, you
and
did.
I didn't.
Yep.
And as I said, because, listen, let's be honest, they've got a fantastic manager, Neil Lennon. He's done exceptionally well. Wherever he's went, people will criticise him for certain things or whatever. But the management, the way he's managed Dunfermline to get there, but their performances against Aberdeen, Hibs, Falkirk, thoroughly deserved it, you know. And as I say, I'm really looking forward to the cup final because I know people are talking about Martin and Neil, and both of them I can guarantee you 100% will be saying, listen, it's about the players on the football pitch. But it's a fantastic achievement, one for Dunfermline as a football club, but for Neil to be in there against Martin, I'm really, really looking forward to it. But I could guarantee you, but both of them will be absolutely desperate to beat each other. But like anybody would be, that's a competitive edge you've got to have. But I'm really looking forward to that. And Dunfermline could end up with a double because they could end up getting promoted as also because of the way they're finishing this league season.
That's right. St Johnstone could win the title tonight, but it's a big if, isn't it? At East End Park, they play Dunfermline, and if they do, they will go up automatically. Partick Thistle's second spot, but they slipped up at the weekend. What an end to the season, Mark, isn't it? We're just going to start just now on that cup final, May the 23rd. Celtic against Dunfermline. Of course, Jock Stein played and managed, of course, both clubs. And the Neil Lennon story, the Martin and Neil story. Neil Lennon's last cup win as a Celtic player was against Dunfermline.
Yeah, his last ever game for the club, and I think Gordon Strachan substituted him. And Neil stormed up the tunnel, none too happy about it, but then come back out, and of course went up with the podium to lift the lift the cup for Celtic. Then went away to Nottingham Forest, I think, and then was back coaching within a year or so. That's brilliant for Dunfermline. You know, what a performance to be, a good Falkirk team. Take it to penalty kicks, kept their cool, kept their composure, won the penalty shootout comfortably, and then Celtic cruising 2-0 at half time. Then St Mirren get the goal back from Mandarin, and then they kick on and deservedly got an equaliser. Then Celtic found another gear. So it's a fascinating cup final, Paul, in media terms. What a story. I think we were talking about on Friday night. What odds would you have got in Martin O'Neill against Neil Lennon a year ago in a Scottish Cup final? Quite incredible. Martin O'Neill going back to Hampden for a final. His last game as Celtic manager the first time round was the Scottish Cup final in 2005, which they won, I think, against Dundee United. So lots of great stories, but of course this weekend we're back to league duty. 5 games to go. Celtic, Rangers, Hearts all going for the title.
Who is going to win the title? We're going to talk about that as well. We will hear from Martin O'Neill after the game at the weekend, because the back pages today are about James Tavernier. We've been saying for a couple of months, Mark, we don't think he's going to get a new contract, and he did reveal yesterday there isn't a contract at the moment, and we're now midway, getting towards the end of April.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine if Rangers are going to offer James Tavernier a new contract, it would be in reduced terms, given his age, and also it'd be heavily, appearance incentivised, that kind of way. But I would imagine it would be a parting of the ways. And for James Tavernier, as we said, Paul, with 5 games to go, his chance to be a title-winning skipper. To bow out in the highest of highs. He skippered the team to their last title in 2021. He has been been a bit of a whipping boy with sections of the Rangers supporters over the years when things go wrong. He's kind of been the guy that they'll kind of point the finger at as, underachieving, not being captain material, etc., etc., etc. Well, he's got a chance to atone for all that. He's been a fantastic servant. 300 grand from Wigan. Yeah, we've mentioned it many times. It's been an incredible bit of business. And I think it's coming to an end for him, and he's got 5 games to be a title-winning skipper again.
Although Peter, I saw he said, I'm going to play for another 4 or 5 years. He thinks there's no loss of pace, energy or whatever. I don't think there is any evidence that he's lost anything.
No, as I said, Paul, many a time I've said on here, I don't think he's the greatest defender.
No.
But the way Rangers are playing now, I would have James Tavernier as a starter, because you need goals.
Yep.
They're playing with 2 strikers. There's not a better deliverer from full-back area at Rangers Football Club than James Tavernier. Yes, as I say, they're always questioning his defensive duties. and that's his main job, obviously. But going forward, I know the amount of goals he's had. I know he's had a hell of a lot of penalties. You've still got to score them. He's been phenomenal for Rangers, as I say, going one way up the pitch. I say in big games he's probably let them down defensively, and that's the thing that sort of grates with the Rangers supporters, I think, but because you're going through a difficult... Listen, I've been there myself. You go through a period of time and you're not winning trophies at Celtic or Rangers, there's a hell of a lot of criticism, because that's what you're expected to do at the two football clubs.
Good line, Mark, in the back page. I've got the papers here. The Sun have got a still game for the
two Jameses.
It's pretty good, isn't it? For those of a
yeah.
certain vintage, of course, Jack and Victor. And James Forrest. Well, let's hear what was Martin O'Neill saying after the performance at the weekend, because he helped to change things in extra time for Celtic, winning the semi-final.
I would like to keep James for one more year at least, and so that he could see his career through at the football club. Yeah, I would be asking the board, I'm sure, today, and I think James would stay for another year. He's 34, isn't he? 34, with just a little burst, the 1v1. He has changed a number of games for us. He changed the game at Aberdeen. I know Nygren scores the goal, but he came on, changed that, changed the one. He got the goal we scored from him, getting the cross at Rangers as well too. So yeah, he's definitely played a part. And Neil Lennon was telling me that he is just, which I've known now for 2 or 3 months, that he really is. He's a proper lad.
Peter, what did you make of his performance when he came on and the way he dropped the shoulder as usual, supplying Iheanacho?
Paul, I've always said now, I'm hoping these gurus that come back now bring back normal right wingers and left wingers. Somebody that goes and takes a full back on and gets by them and puts a cross in. James does it fantastically well, gets there and leaves it up there for Iheanacho to score. It's just great wing play, and Celtic will always traditionally have great wingers who can take people on and put crosses in. Too many are passing the ball now, too many are passing it back the way. They're never taking 1v1s. And Martin said it's 100% right. It's a 1v1 situation. At Celtic Football Club, the wingers were always told, you've got a licence to lose the ball being positive. And that's what they were always told. And we were to feed them as quickly as possible. That shouldn't change. And unfortunately nowadays, I see too many wingers being passers of the ball now instead of ones that's going to take the 1v1 situation. So great credit to James. And it's not the first time. He's done it for a right few years now at important times in the season to make Celtic go and win trophies. And hopefully, he can keep these performances going that Celtic can end up with a double.
So we got rid of the bluffers last year. Shall we chase the gurus in 2026? There's so much rubbish spoken, isn't there, Mark? This new modern football speak. Go out and entertain.
Yeah, go and win.
Yeah.
Go and win your battles. If you're a centre half, make sure the number 9 doesn't perform. If you're a full back going, if you're a goalie, stop messing about at the edge of your box. But James Forrest, I think Paul, you'd mentioned it, he goes away back to Ange's time in terms of him, being a game changer. So he's done it for Ange Postecoglou, he's done it for Brendan Rodgers, now for Martin O'Neill. I remember exactly 2 years ago, Cup semi-final, Celtic v Aberdeen, and he came off the bench and changed the game. It was the one that went to a penalty shootout, but Celtic were going nowhere in that game. Aberdeen were going to win, and James Forrest, time after time, he's low maintenance, he's a great professional, he's got plenty to offer, and for me it's a no-brainer, and it's not a sympathy vote. He deserves a new contract, he deserves a new 1 year deal. Because
is he going to get it, Mark?
Well, I would hope so. And Martin O'Neill's saying there, well, Martin O'Neill is a football manager, and his recommendation to the board, and let's be honest, I don't think James Forrest is going to be difficult to deal with.
Sure.
So it's a no-brainer. Go and get him signed up, and he'll be a positive addition to the squad, whether it's Martin O'Neill or a new manager who's in charge for the 2026-27 season. He
said when he got his last contract, Brendan Rodgers said to him, always get ready then for your next one. You've got the new contract, play as if you're playing for your next contract, Peter. And that's the way you lived and breathed and worked.
Every day, Paul, as soon as you signed one, it was about earning one 4 years down the line, if that's what you signed. And that should never change. That's the hunger you've got to have. And I think when you look at James and say Callum McGregor, Kieran Tierney, the ones that have been there as youngsters, say Tommy Burns, God rest him, was their youth coaches. That was put into them because it was put into Tommy, it was put into me, Tommy and the great Danny McGrains, the Davy Provins and all that, telling you how important it was that you lived your life and gave everything in every training session. And you can see that for James, and it probably suits him now because their games now, no player, you're lucky if they get 50 minutes in game time. So that's what you're looking at now. You're not looking at a winger that's got to go and take somebody on for 90 minutes, but he's got so much to offer, and he's the most positive winger that Celtic have at this moment in time at the football club.
This could come down to goals because we're going to switch in a moment or two to the league chase because it continues from Saturday. We know Celtic against Falkirk, 5:30, and then on Sunday Rangers against Motherwell at 3, and then Hibs Hearts 4:30. It could come down. Mark, you always go into this kind of swingometer. What's the latest? Nothing's changed since last week, obviously.
No.
But goals, it's apparent it could well be that. And Celtic did it in a space of, what was that? 4 goals in 6 minutes. They haven't done that for such a long time, but it could go to the end of the season. Kenny was on the other night saying they could get into the last game of the season, Hearts Celtic, and Celtic could win the game but not win the league because of the goal difference.
Yeah, I think, the goal difference situation, Paul, will be clear, or much clearer after game 3.
Yeah.
Because after game 3, Rangers will have been to Tynecastle and they'll have been to Celtic Park, and we will know for sure, with 6 points remaining, how it's going to shape up, and it may well come down to it on the last day. So I think, first and foremost, it's just about trying to win. And then if you're getting to that, the midweek fixtures and then the last games on Saturday, you might think, well, actually, this might come down to goals. We might need to take a wee bit of a gamble, whatever. But, I still say that Hearts are in the driving seat. They're at the top of the table for a reason. And it's up to Rangers or Celtic to try and budge them. And in order to do so, I think that Rangers have to go to Tynecastle and win. Hearts would be delighted with a draw, albeit they've got the Edinburgh Derby this weekend. But Paul, it's still all to play for. Genuinely, you could put the 3 of them in a hat and pick one out. All I would say is, with 15 points up for grabs, I don't think any of the 3 of them will win all of their 5 games. I think points will be dropped.
What do you reckon? Give us a call, 0808 17 17 700. Peter, we're getting to that time of the season when agents will be busy again looking for their players for next season. Today's speculation is that Fernandes, who's done really well for Rangers in recent months, Arsenal are looking for him. They're watching the 24-year-old Nigerian international. We don't know if it's true or not, but you wouldn't be surprised if people are watching him.
I wouldn't be surprised if people are watching him, Paul. He's got a talent. Takes far too many chances for me. I watched the Falkirk game, the first half, Rangers, when they were losing the game 2-0. And he was a big part of that play, trying to play the ball out, trying to be clever. And he's got so much to offer because he's quick, he's very strong in the air, he can use the ball when he passes it forward. No, what I would say to him if I was his manager, 1, don't dribble anybody and pass into your midfield or your forwards. Don't pass to your other centre-back. And that would take a lot of his problems away, because everything else he can do very well because he's very quick, he's very aggressive in there. So take away the silly mistakes. People always say to our centre-halves, if you've got to dribble, you've made a major error as a centre-back. Yeah. If you've got to dribble, you've made the wrong choice.
Why?
Because that means you're putting yourself at risk, Paul. Okay. That's for your midfielders and your forwards to create something, not a centre-back trying to take on a centre-forward who predominantly have got better feet than you. And that's what they were always told. And I think he looks a much better player when he uses the ball quickly and passes it forward.
Mark, it was also the weekend. We're going to talk about St Mirren, and we're going to talk about goalkeepers as well. I love the fact that Gogic defended his goalkeeper, the reserve keeper, who had a tough afternoon. But Sinisalo, it could have been a disaster for him. And look at Man City, Arsenal, both goalkeepers caught out and spectacular. What is it? Why don't they just clear the ball sometimes?
Well, I mean, the basic answer to that, Paul, is they're told not to. Right. How many times now do you see managers being interviewed post-match when somebody's made a mistake in their own box and the manager will say, that's on me. That's on me. I tell them to play that way. And I think, and I was thinking about it on Sunday afternoon watching the St Mirren Celtic game when it was clear that Ryan Mullen was uncomfortable. He had a nightmare start and you think, God, I mean, everybody knows how quick Maeda is over 7 and 8 yards. Why are you gambling? And he just never recovered from that. And St Mirren never recovered from that in the opening 20 minutes. But you're gambling, and Sinisalo's taking a couple of gambles. When it comes to managers and coaches who have that philosophy, I get it. But at some point, you've got to say to yourself, okay, that's my philosophy as a manager, but what's the right thing for the football club just now in the middle of this game? Do I just make it easier for Ryan Mullen and take the pressure and tell him to launch? Just for a couple of minutes, just launch. Let's get our breath back. Let's get our shape back. And then Sinisalo is potentially gifting St Mirren opportunities to get back into the game. And there's nothing angers me more, Paul, when you see defences gift the opposition. See, if you score a goal, I want to see the opposition working hard for it. I want to see them having to do something. But when you're gifting it, and it happens at the highest level, you see it with Neuer, Bayern Munich against Real Madrid during the week.
Midweek,
listen, it's part of the game. It annoys the life out of me. And sometimes I just think there's nothing wrong with launching it.
Mark, former St Mirren reserves keeper, sort it out. You're the spokesman for the keepers. We're going to take a call. Quite a few coming in. Kevin's on the line. Hi, Kevin. Good evening.
How you doing, boys? You okay?
Yeah,
All right, Kevin.
good, Kevin. What about the goalkeepers? You had a few moments there with Sinisalo. Spectacular the way he recovered, but was there any need for it?
Listen, once again, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. All you need to do is listen to Mark. He clearly knows what he's talking about,
Yes.
and I completely agree with him. I think the managers need to take that responsibility. But for me, and far be it for me to criticise Martin O'Neill or Sean Maloney or whoever it is that's taking the training, I don't know if you agree, Mark or Peter, but I think when it comes to management and coaches, they should base it on the knowledge of their players' ability. Sinisalo, for me, watching him, and obviously I'm just a fickle football fan, but for me, he's not comfortable with the ball at his feet. So if you've got a keeper that's not comfortable with the ball at his feet, why are you putting him under pressure to play out for the back? Play to his strengths, not his weaknesses.
All right, guys.
Because it's just got to make him look like a clown sometimes, and I feel sorry for him.
Peter?
I agree with Kevin in some respects, but the other side is I think he's all right with the ball at his feet. But the biggest problem is he takes so long.
Yeah.
But not only that, why is the centre halves passing it back to the goalkeeper? Used to be your worst player, as on his feet. I'm not saying that's the case nowadays, but he was your worst player. So you got it off him as quickly as you possibly could. And Mark spoke about philosophy. I don't care if it's Pep Guardiola or whatever. You can't have a philosophy. You keep losing goals, or your keeper under pressure. I watched St Mirren on Saturday, and if I was saying to Craig McLeish now, I'd be saying to him, why did you tell the first pass that went back to your young goalkeeper who came on as a sub to put it on his bad foot across his body? We've just lost a goalkeeper, but they've done it twice right away. And you're thinking, that can't be right. And if the manager had come out after the game and said, oh, but that's on me, I'd have said, well, you're not ready for this job. Because that's the wrong call. As I say about Rangers, I think Rangers have got an arrogance against everybody else. They try and play out and they don't look good enough. When they played against Falkirk the second half, that was the way they played against Celtic. They look a much better team when they play to their strengths. They get up to the front. Jack Butland doesn't play one pass because Jack doesn't look comfortable with it. So when he goes long and he doesn't need to think about it, the team look better. Goalkeepers have always had to play quick. Mark will tell you, but it was if they caught it, throw out to your fullback as quick as you can. Can you throw it in the middle of the field? That's never changed. But now they're putting themselves under so much pressure. But I blame defenders. Defenders are making it's an easy get out for them. They've got an opportunity to pass forward. They turn out and play it back to the goalkeeper.
Mark, sorry.
Yeah, I just on it for young Tamasevicius for St Mirren, young Grant.
17.
Paul, I'm watching the telly and I'm feeling for him. I'm feeling for him. You know, I'm just like, and I'm saying to myself, oh God, son, I hope you do all right. I just hope you don't have any howlers. And he acquitted himself so well. In some respects, you can say Celtic never tested enough. I get that, but I'm looking at it purely from the young boys' angle. And I agree with you, Peter. You're saying, you've seen Jamie Langfield with him before he's gone. You're thinking, protect the boy, protect him. Don't put him into any unnecessary hazardous situations. Just protect the young boy. And he came through it. He came through it really well. I know he's conceded, he was on the field for 5 of the goals, but he acquitted himself very, very well. And I'm delighted for him because at 17, you think about it, 17 years old, growing live on the telly, a Scottish Cup semi-final against a team like Celtic. He did ever so well, but for St Mirren, Ryan Mullen was just so uncomfortable after his mistake in the first minute, and yet you continue. And that's where I get any manager. And by the way, I don't think Martin O'Neill's comfortable, but he knows it's a modern game. But Martin O'Neill's not comfortable with this kind of thing. No, he's not. You only need to look at his face when the TV cameras pan it. He would rather just say safety first, particularly when you're ahead. Why are you gambling? Why are you potentially gifting opportunities unnecessarily to the opposition?
And sometimes
I will never understand that, Paul. And I don't care who the coach is. I will argue that point all day long.
And Kevin, you were conceding possession. Sometimes you're in the midfield, you're 2 up, and they play it back the way to the defenders, and then back to the goalkeeper. Why?
It's just it's just all negative for me, to be honest with you. Sometimes I think watching Celtic in general, apart from that period in the extra time where we were outstanding, we was just kind of bored again. And I think the main point that I wanted to make today was it's a sad indictment of where we are with our wingers, that a 34-year-old James Forrest is our best option, and that's not a slight on him. That's actually a compliment. And I just think for these 5 games, Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney take Coletti aside, they take Forrest aside and say, can you give us 5 big for performances? and putting him in that team for those 5 games, because for me, James Forrest is a better option than any other wide player we've got, and it's no disrespect to Yang, he's worked rate's absolutely fantastic, but he lacks final product for me sometimes, and I just think Kelechi, his movement, his hold up play, and his general finishing ability is far and above anybody else at the club, and they need to be in the team. Because the 5 games they're 5 cup finals. As Mark says, I don't think we're going to win them all, but we certainly, without a shadow of a doubt, we must take 9 points out of 9 for the 3 home games. It's an absolute. There's no leeway for me.
Sure.
If we drop points to Falkirk next weekend, the league's finished.
Peter?
No, I tend to agree with that. As I've said for a while now, Celtic have no wiggle room, more with the goal difference in that as well. So all of that situation comes into it.
Iheanacho, sorry, would you start with him? James Forrest?
Listen, I would start with Iheanacho because he's the only striker you've got.
Yeah.
That's fact. So, but the thing I can't start with him is because I can understand 100% why Martin's not starting him. Because if he can only play 35, 40 minutes, he can't play a half then. So you can't take him off in the first half. And the problem we've got is we start him, get to half time, you start the second half, and then you've got to take him off. And you're done. Because I'm looking round about then, if he's not on the pitch, I'm thinking, who's going to score apart from Negrin? I still think that. Maybe Arnie Ingles coming back now, I think he's maybe got a goal on him, sort of thing, once he gets up to speed. But you're looking at that and you're thinking to yourself, that is the problem that Martin's got. Do I start him, knowing that I've got to take him off? And it's the exact same with James. Their bodies probably won't take it. And he actually has proven that any time he's played 2 games in the bounce, the 3rd game he ends up with an injury, hamstring strain or whatever, because he's not had a lot of games. And it's the same with James. If you look at James, he's not played a lot of games. He's come on in games. And that's been important for us when teams are tired. But the one thing he does give us, and whether he loses the ball or not, is a positivity to take someone on. I watched Tinecte at the weekend. He got the ball and passed it or lost it, but just gave it away. And I don't mind him if he's been positive, but he never done that. Martin gave him that opportunity. There's Hampden, a big pitch, go on, take them on, and he didn't grab it. And that tells you when you're back talking about Iheanacho, you're playing Iheanacho and James Forrest are going to win you a league and win you a cup. That's where you're at now.
And are they?
It'll be a miracle in the respect to that, Paul, because if you've got to depend on the boys and you can only maybe play them 35 minutes each.
We're going to find out, aren't we?
You're going to find out. It's going to be a tough call, that's for sure, with the amount of goals as well. Here's
what Martin O'Neill said about Iheanacho after his 2 goals.
I couldn't disagree with that. Yeah, obviously he's had the few injury problems. I think I said too that sometimes if you felt as if he started the games, he might not see the game through. We've got a couple like that at the moment, but he's today. His goals have been big for us, really big. He says he is completely fit. I'm not completely sure, but he was brilliant for us. Brilliant. He took the goals magnificently. He can hold it. You can see why he's had a career.
Mark, completely baffled, or what do you think?
I think you look at Iheanacho, and I think I need to give credit to Martin O'Neill's man management. I think Martin O'Neill challenged Iheanacho a few weeks ago. I need you. I want to see more from you because you're a top player. And if we're going to be successful over the next 5 or 6 weeks, you're going to have to play a part in it. So come on. And the man management's been brilliant. I think he's then off the bench against Dundee at Dens Park. It's a winning goal. You can see what it meant to him in terms of his celebration. You see him at the weekend. So the man management of Martin O'Neill, it's the same with Yang. When he came in the first time, you say to Yang, you're good, you're strong, you've got pace, strength. Go and take your full back on. And look at the difference in Yang this season under Martin O'Neill. Look at his awareness for the goal that he sets up for Anthony Ralston. We're totally unselfish, even coming in with a header at the back post. So there's been some brilliant man management behind the scenes with Martin O'Neill, and Iheanacho's the latest example. And if it pays off over the next 5 games and a cup final, then clearly the manager deserves a lot of credit.
Kevin, you've got Scotland talking. Thank you for your call. 0808 17 17 700. Manny Fernandez, James Tavernier, their futures next.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King.
Some of the headlines tonight. So Arsenal apparently looking at Manny Fernandez, the Rangers defender who's scored quite a number of goals, and he's improved after a difficult start to the season. Arnie Ingles is their Italian interest in the Celtic midfielder who's come back from injury. I think Forrest wanted to pay, 11, 12 million, maybe more, 15 million in January. Celtic fans, what do you think? Rangers fans, 08, 08, 17, 17, 700. And James Tavernier, a new contract for him next season, doesn't look like it. But Mark, hey, if he wins the title, Billy's on saying it, how can they not come up with something? Okay, maybe reduce terms because he's one of the highest payers, you would imagine, as the captain. But James Tavernier, if he delivers the title and he wants to stay, would be worth a new contract.
I think all things being equal, Rangers would offer him something. But, like I said, I think it would be in severely reduced terms with, heavy incentivised towards appearance. Now that's up to James Tavernier if he wants to accept that, and he might think if Rangers do win the title, there's no better way to go, and then go and kick off his career wherever he goes up. Or if he doesn't win the title, do the Rangers fans turn on him again? And part of it, so they might just this is a perfect time to bow. Who knows, Paul? We don't know. All we do know, like from whether it's James Tavernier or anybody else that's out of contract, they will be fully focused on the next 5 league games. That's all that matters. You talk about the football club's bigger than one individual, and that's entirely correct. And one thing we know about James Tavernier is he'll put Rangers first. And once the season has been settled in terms of the honours, then he can sit down and have a conversation with Danny Rule or with the chief executive, whoever it may be, and then decide what's best for all parties.
The bookies, what are they saying today, Mark? Rangers just favourites or Hearts? Yeah.
I think Rangers are favourites, okay. Hearts second favourites, Celtic third favourites, which is understandable. I can see that. It's just it's in their own hands, Paul. The three. I know Celtic have got a severely inferior goal difference, but if Celtic did win all 5 games, I think they would be league champions despite the goal difference just now. So it's there. It's unlikely for any of the three, I think, to win all 5, and obviously only one of them could do that because they've all got to play each other. But Paul, honestly, put the 3 of them in a hat. But I'll stick with Hearts because they're top of the table for a reason. Everybody's expected them to go away, but they're not going away.
Peter, it's this most exciting from the point of view of just looking at the toing and froing. Hearts leading, Rangers getting close, Celtic were close, and nobody's far away. There's only 3 points in it. What about the standard so far this season? Because Hearts fans will say, you're going to say that in the west of Scotland if Hearts win it. But what do you feel about the standard of the big 3 so far this season?
The quality, no, yes, it's not been near the levels it's been in recent years, Paul. And I'm not just saying that because Celtic won it and Celtic were playing much better when they won the league, and that's not been disrespectful to the players. I'm just talking about the performances of the team. Has been nowhere near the levels. You can tell that with the points. You can tell that with the amount of goals scored. It's been exciting for different reasons. Down the bottom half and the top half, it's been very exciting. But for quality, I would say it's been as poor a quality for the last few years, definitely. And that's, as I say, I hate putting a damper on it, but that's fact. I think you see that with the amount of draws Rangers have had. They've only lost 2 games, but they only find themselves near enough equal. And you think that usually that would take you, if Rangers had only lost 2 games, you'd be well in front. And it's the same with Celtic. Celtic are still in there, and they've not got a goal scorer. It's quite incredible, and that says enough. And you've got to give Hearts credit because they've kept digging in all the way along. And one of their signings, Braga, has come up with goals at important times. So for the side, the team obviously it's got to take most credit. It's Hearts for coming in there because they can't do anything else about it. They've been consistent. If you're talking about Celtic and Rangers in general, well, definitely Celtic, their performances have been nowhere near what they've been used to being, and that's the performances of the team. Not as an individual, they're all good players, but their performance this year has been nowhere near it.
Mark, quite a few people are on saying, what's going to happen for the manager of the year? Because that tells you who's going to win the league. But I know because of the timing of it, it came up last night with Barry and Charlie. People were asking about it.
Well, I think the PFA's awards, I think their dinner is on May the 3rd. So I think all the votes are in for that. I realise there's a restriction in the schedule, but it's ridiculously early. The football writers deadlines with 2 league games to go, so that's when about May the 5th, May the 6th the deadline. I think, Paul, given that where the situation is with the league is, for me, you, right now you'd have to vote Askew or McGlynn, and I'm not saying that's the right vote, but it's a safe vote. Because
you can't really though.
Well, I
Surely.
know, but
if I was Derek McInnes, if I'm a Hearts fan, I'd say, Mark, come on.
No, I agree, Paul. If it's me and some of my colleagues will be listening. If it's me, if it's football writers, the dinner's not to May the 17th, so we'll know who are the title winners by then. So my view on it would be have an email vote.
That's right.
On the Saturday night. And if you still want to vote for John McGlynn, and there's John McGlynn's not made the Scottish Cup final. Motherwell did make a cup final. Hearts are not going to be in the cup final. Rangers not going to be in the cup final. So Celtic are in the cup final. Have got a chance of a double. So I think you would have to go with the safe vote, because I've said it before. Let's just say it, and I'll take my own industry, the football writers, on May the 17th. If you're sitting with Derek McInnes as your manager here and he doesn't win the league, and Danny Rule does or Martin O'Neill does, and they're in the audience, that's not right. It's not right, because it's a trophyless season. If you vote Danny Rule as your manager of the year, and he doesn't win the league, and Martin O'Neill does, Danny Rule's a trophyless season. You've got the wrong guy sitting at the top table. Therefore, I'm saying that John McGlynn or Askew would be the safe vote, but not necessarily the right vote. But then you take Peter's point into account. Given the resources that Celtic and Rangers have got, should the manager get manager of the year, bearing in mind the resources that they have and what they've had? But then you counter that. Look what Danny Rule inherited. They've not been there for a full season. Look what Martin Neal's inherited twice. So it's a tough one, Paul. And I think the best solution would be in this day and age that you have an email vote and you give it right up to the last minute.
Exciting as well, isn't it, Peter?
I would say, Paul, on this particular occasion, I think the manager that wins the league should be the manager of the year, because it's the one that's held his nerve during a really difficult 5 games. Just this period that I'm talking about, whoever holds their nerve in here and the teams get the result, because this is when you're judged. And I always think champions should get it. People say, they've got the resources and that. I understand that side of it, but in this particular year, for sure, whether it's Derek McInnes, Danny Role or Martin O'Neill, whoever wins the league, that should be the manager of the year, because they've deserved it, because they've not went away. If Hearts win it, they've been there consistently. Danny Role, the role he's done, forgive the pun, since he came in has been phenomenal for Rangers, and Martin O'Neill twice coming in, getting Celtic right up there, then having to fight that back again, getting him in another cup final. You know, so, and I would genuinely say, and I've said it on here before, this would be his best ever title and his hardest ever title, without a shadow of a doubt. And I know other ones were close, but for me, whoever wins the league out the A3, that deserves to be the manager of the year.
Mark, some of them listen, we've got great Scottish journalism. We absolutely have. And look at the amount in the newspapers and now online as well. You know, we're not quite Italy, we're not quite Gazzetta, we're not quite like Spain. But my goodness, there's so much space given to football, which is brilliant. And surely they say, right, I'll tell you what, we'll give the vote on the day. You'll find out when you come along that night, because the football writers are all about, they're right up to date. It's online. They change it, online as well as in print every day. I still buy my papers, as you know.
And there'd also be part of the concern is that whoever would be the manager of the year, you're giving them less than 24 hours notice to be there.
But you want to be there.
They would be there. You're not going to tell me if you're Derek, Danny or Mark that you're not going to turn up. You're going to be there to accept a prestigious
just invite them all now
award. They do get invites anyway. All managers in the top flight and championship.
Who's the president?
Get an invite. It's now Roger Hannah of the Scottish Sun who's taken over from our good friend Charles Young. So it's Roger's first year, and I wish him well. A fantastic president, a great journalist.
Yeah, he is.
Roger,
he's great in the quiz as well.
Been in the business for over 30 years, so he knows his stuff. But look, it's by committee. It's a difficult situation for the committee. I get that, but I think sometimes, given the present circumstances, as an association, you want to get it as right as you can, and you want to give your members the best possible chance to get it right. And therefore, I would keep the vote open by email. But that's easy for me to say. I'm not in the committee anymore. But you want to make sure the right guy is given the award. And
who's going to be the player of the year as well? So you could be player of the year, but not necessarily be with the champions. But people are talking about Braga, Shankland at Rangers. Who would they be talking about for player of the year?
Maniche.
Yep, at Motherwell, of course, 22 goals.
Right now, I'd give it to Braga, Paul.
Would you? Yeah.
Right now, if I'm voting today, I would give it to Braga of Hearts.
But it's interesting how he's talking about Maniche. He's only got 2 goals more than Benji Negrin, who's a midfield player. Sure. And he gets a lot of criticism. You know, he scored again at the weekend, had a quiet game, quiet match, absolutely. But it's a good job he's been there for Celtic, because we talk about him not having any strikers. So taking that pressure to become in there with 20 goals is phenomenal for a midfield. But I agree, I think Braga has been consistent even during when Shankland was out of the team. I think he's been excellent. I think he's been a real find for Hearts in the way he's played. Brings an excitement to him, and it also gives him something if Lawrence Shankland, because you're always watching Lawrence Shankland as a defender. You're always watching. But when you've got someone else there, you're thinking, God almighty, we've got to keep an eye on him. And he produced when Lawrence was out of the team, and I think that was the biggest thing. So I think his performance has been phenomenal. A lot of the Motherwell boys as well. They'd been in coach. That's what I was going to ask Mark there. There's a difference between coaching and managing, Paul. Martin O'Neill, I would say at this moment in time, is more of a manager. That's the way you'd probably describe him. Ascu's more of a coach. Yeah. The complete change in Motherwell, the way they play and the way the players have been asked to play, has been a breath of fresh air to watch. We're talking about earlier on passing it back to your goalkeeper. They lost goals, but I think what they learned is they had to mix it. Know when to go long, know when to play out, see where the space is, and they've done that, and that's good coaching. So for me, if you're talking about a coach then, Ascu goes right up there because the way he's coached Motherwell from what they were to what they are now, that's different. Managing is this bit where Derek, Danny Rowe and Martin O'Neill are in now. Here, this is the management because of the pressure it's on to win a championship. Now that separates everybody else. Martin's been over the course, Derek's been over the course as a manager, but not winning a league.
It's all about winning, isn't it?
And it's all about that, Paul. So that's why there's a slight difference in what you're asking the question.
I tell you another one who I don't think you would get any arguments if he was voted manager of the year.
John McGlynn.
No. Steve Clarke.
Oh, of course.
Scotland manager gets us to the first World Cup final.
Got that one wrong spectacularly.
28 years.
Yeah.
You know? So again, I'm not saying it's a right vote, but if it was a vote, if Steve Clarke was manager of the year, who would argue with the national manager getting us to a World Cup final?
Let's take that one out for the edit. Do that one again. And the manager of the year,
John McGlynn Clarke.
Exactly. 0808 17 17 700. It is fascinating who's going to win the title. We're actually going to hear from Neil Lennon because he's in a big game tonight against St Johnstone. St Johnstone could win the title, the championship this evening. Mark,
and listen. Simo Valakari's cruising to a
right.
title.
Yeah.
But you could have Neil Lennon gets promotion with Dunfermline and wins a Scottish Cup.
I know.
Now, that would surely that's a manager of the year if you did do that. Listen, all ifs, buts and maybes.
There are there. And we'll be here after this.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King.
Let's go right on to the lines. 0808 17 17 700. Paul is on, a Rangers fan. Good evening, Paul. Paul, good evening. How are you?
Paul,
Hi. You're through? Not at all?
Thanks.
Yeah. Paul, you back from Spain. Did you go with Rangers? Did they take you on the official flight for the break in Spain with Rangers? It's been quiet, obviously, from Rangers, but they're back. They're getting ready for the weekend. How are you feeling about it?
Well, this is it, Paul.
Yep.
I mean, look, if you said at the start of the season, particularly after the last few games, if we were going to be in this position, I think all Rangers fans would have bitten your hand off.
Sure.
So it's in their hands. If we win the games, we win the title. So you can't ask for any more. So it's now over to Danny Rowe and the team to do it for us. So I'm optimistic, Paul. But my point is actually thinking about summer recruitment. And I want to see what the guys think. See the guy, Alec Gogic, he might not be able to cup of tea, Paul. But I mean, I watched him against Celtic, and it's not the first time. He's a solid rock at the back, and he knows Scottish football inside out. And you remember Rangers had Kyriakos, the big Greek guy, quite a while back. He reminds me a bit like him. He's solid at the back, and he's got a bit of reliability. And I'll be honest, you talk about Jigger, who I think's doing relatively well now. But I mean, that guy's, I know he's got a future development and all that, right? But worth millions of pounds. But I'm telling you, Alec Gogic, the guy wears his shirt with his sleeve. I thought he did an immense game against Celtic. What do you think about going for him and having him as maybe a stopgap player or a guy with a bit of reliability?
Okay, his name came up last year when Barry Ferguson was interim manager, and I think he spoke about it afterwards. Peter, you're nodding. He's 32 years young, Alec Gogic.
No, I don't think he's for Rangers now. I think that ship sailed, to be perfectly honest with you. I think he's done it remarkably well. I think he's a fantastic career, what he's done in Scotland, to be perfectly honest with you. Every game against Celtic, he's been excellent. There's no getting away from that. He's a competitor. He defends really, really well. It suits him playing in the middle of that back three. I know he went in the middle of the pitch in a few games as well because he played in there quite a lot. But I don't think that's the route that Rangers will be going on now. I think that ship has sailed, as I say. But that's not to say that Alec Gogic is not a good player. I just think that's not where Danny Rowe will be going now. I think he'll be looking at different players from that. He'll be looking at that 25, 26, especially for that defender I'm talking about. Maybe even younger if it wasn't a central defender. Because I just think they'll be looking at that recruitment in that sort of level. So I don't think Alec Gogic will end up as a Rangers player. even though he's done exceptionally well for St Mirren.
Mark?
Well, I would say first and foremost, I would imagine Stephen Robinson would like to take Gogic to Aberdeen.
Right.
And I think Gogic's the kind of player that would just bring a bit of life, a bit of spark, a bit of fight, and he would play every week at Aberdeen, and he knows him well. He's had a brilliant career. I remember when he started at Hamilton Accies and he's at Hibs, never lets you down. But it wouldn't bother me in the slightest. I could see him, I know what you're saying, Peter, but I think as a squad player, Paul, if that's what you're thinking, I don't know if he's got a contract, Paul, if he's got a year to go at St Mirren, but I think as a squad player for Rangers, I can see it. I can see the merit in it. You know, next season Rangers have a European campaign. He'll not let you down. I know he's not the future. I know he's not 20, but he's 32. He's a fit 32, and as a squad player, somebody that can help every now and again. I'll go back to your time at Celtic, Peter, and so let's just, for example, I'll take an example off the top of my head. Big Yogi Hughes coming in, just done a job for you. Came in and done a job. Big, solid, dependable defender.
Ricky Anoni, very
Anoni.
similar.
Kyriakos, as Big Ant McLeish saying, Kyriakos, as Paul's mentioned. I know it's slightly kind of different in terms of the way they play the game, but Big Davy Weir came in under Walter Smith, was only meant to come in for 6 months and stayed for 4 years. So I can see the merit. I don't think Danny Rule would go for him, but I could totally see the merit if it did happen.
And I hear you saying about Aberdeen, Paul, you're going to say?
I was saying, Mark said that David Weir came for 6 months and look how solid he was. But exactly, Mark, that's what I'm thinking. A squad player that you could bring in, because you can, like you said, do European games. Seeing a night up at Pittodrie, a right tough night, that's the type of character you want in your team. That'll give you a bit of fight, determination, pop up with a goal, maybe with a header. I could see it, honestly. And that's, Paul, that's what I said on the show a few times.
Yep.
Not just Scottish players, but I mean Scottish-based players that know how to go to places like Pittodrie or Easter Road on those cold nights. That's what I'd like to be bringing into Rangers. And I totally get that the 49ers vision might be not the 25-year-old guys or 24-year-old guys, but the only thing I thought, Paul, was because the defence is all loans. Magoma's gone back,
of course,
potentially. Aaron's gone back. Jigger's probably gone back. So literally with one defender, John Suter. So and Fernandez. So that's why I was thinking maybe he would be good as a wee backup player.
And Peter, you can't. They can't all be superstars, as Mark said and Paul said as well. You need players that are great for. You mentioned.
Listen, you could hang your hat on them, going anywhere and doing a job for you. I just think Rangers at this moment in time would be looking at it. And I'm only talking about Rangers are thinking. I'm not talking as a supporter. For me, he never lets you down.
No,
and then I can see why Stevie Robinson, Mark made a very good point. Stevie Robinson would make him captain going to Aberdeen because he's got that spirit, he's got that desire, he's got the willingness not to be beat. He's brought all that, and that's a Scottish trait as well, even been in the Scottish game for a long time. That's been brought into him, but he brings the best out of the players round about him. And I think that's always important, but I just don't think it'll be a thing that Rangers do. That's the only thing I'm saying. Nothing to do with Alex Gogic, because I could see him at 100% being at Aberdeen.
Paul, we're getting to the time of the season now where we talk about Manager of the Year, Player of the Year. Who's your Rangers Player of the Year if you were voting tonight?
I would go for probably Manny Fernandez.
Right.
I think he's been, for what he came through, sticky patch.
Yep.
He's turned into a solid defender, Paul. Actually, I'd say the best central defender we've got now. I don't know guys think if they agree with that, but
Mark?
He pops up with goals and he's solid at the back.
Yeah, I would. I mean, you know, I think we were speaking about it last week. Always like kind of tend to go for a body of work for a player of the year over 30, 40 games. That we're talking about Braga and boys like that. But I think just in terms of if you're talking exclusively about Rangers, I would agree. Normally, I would have been saying John Suter, but I think John Suter's been ropey at certain points this season, and Fernandez has come through a tough spell, so it shows the mentality that he's got. He's scoring goals, he's defending, he's got great pace, which is, you know, what every big club looks for now in terms of a central defender. And if he just keeps it simple, then I think he's a very, very effective player. But I don't think it's the same as I don't think Rangers have had a really, really consistent player over 30, 35 games. Fernandez has been good over 12, 14 games. Mikey Moore's been good over 12, 14 games. But there's been nobody that you can say, you know what, wow, from day one, this boy, we could hang our hat on him every day of the week.
I was going to say for the young player, Mikey Moore.
I would say him as Rangers Player of the Year. And the only reason I would say that, Paul, is because I'm only judging him on playing in his proper position. I always said when Russell Martin played him on the right hand side, when I was down south, I always seen him playing as a sort of in behind a striker or from the left hand side. I mean, and I said that's what I was surprised that Russell played him on the right. Then when he got put to that side, he ended up being electric, and you've seen the best of him. And Romans, even in the small period he's been in, I think Romans has been excellent for them. So you can only judge him on the period of games that they're having. So for me, who's made a big influence on Rangers, I'd be saying Mikey Moore and Romans for me.
And what are you feeling about Danny Rule? Listen, I think it would be great if they give the manager of the year when they know who wins the title. But what would you say about your manager that came in 36 years old? It's quite an achievement. Well, he hasn't achieved it yet, but what he's done with the club and the way he's married it, he kept, the signings that weren't his, he's kept most of them motivated, mixed it in with some new ones in January, and you're now second top of the table.
Paul, he's done that, but I'm going to sound negative here, right? But he's done well, but he's not won anything. And to be at Rangers, as Mark and Peter might agree with me, at Rangers and Celtic, you need to win titles.
Yeah, sure.
And so it's all great. I mean, you could talk about Martinez getting linked to Celtic. You could say he's done well with, like, say, Belgium and everything, but did they actually do well with Belgium? Because they never won anything.
No,
and
right.
that could probably be their golden generation. So what I'm trying to say is, he's done well pulling us to where we are, but the thing is, what matters most with a Rangers or Celtic fan is you win titles, and he's not done that yet. And he's, as I say, acid test. He never beat Celtic in the quarter final of the cup, and he never beat them in the semi final. So Martin O'Neill's had it over him twice. As I said, I'll give him to next year, because I think you've got the Martin O'Neill factor, because, as I said, he's a legend and everything else with Celtic, and he could get that over the line with Celtic against Rangers. I would like to see him get another full year, and if he gets his own squad together and things like that, then I think that's when you judge Danny Role. But I wouldn't say he's manager of the year. Even if we win the title, Paul, I think Derek McInnes has got a great shout. I think the guy, John McGlynn, has done an outstanding job with Falkirk. So that's where I would kind of say. I don't know whether the guys agree with me on that about Danny Role. That's just my opinion on it.
I think that's roughly what you were saying. I mean, he hasn't won it yet.
Is he won one more goals, one more games than Derek McInnes since he came in? I think the answer to that is yes, if I'm right, isn't it?
I think so is the answer.
I think he's done the same. He's won more than Martin. So I think Rangers fans have been a bit unfair on this particular occasion. It's a bit like Martin O'Neill. Martin O'Neill, we've asked him to get us out of jail twice. Certain situation. If Martin wins it, that's why I'm saying it'll be his best ever.
Sure.
It'll be his hardest ever to try and win with the way Celtic have been playing. I think Danny Rowe's done a phenomenal job, and I know it's going to be a negative. Rangers don't win the league because they've lost out in the cups, but I think he's done a phenomenal job. And then where you would judge him is at the starting line next year. Once it starts next season, now you've got your own players, now you've got your own team, now it's you. We can't blame Russell Martin starting poorly or whatever, it's on you. But the job he's done since he came in, I think, has been remarkable, and you can only give him great credit.
And I'll tell you what, final point before we head for the news is, if Celtic win on Saturday evening, 5:30 against Falkirk, then they're top joint with Hearts. And then Rangers play, a point behind, game in hand the next day. But it maybe just changes it, Mark, just a little bit, the dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, I think kick-off times and who's playing first, etc., doesn't do any harm providing you win. But it certainly does it puts a little seed of doubt if you're going into the Sunday. So, the Hearts players, the Rangers players, if they're going to the best, oh God, Celtic done their job, 1 out of 5, ticked off. I'm not taking anything for granted for Celtic Saturday afternoon. But yeah, it doesn't do any harm, particularly where there's no easy games, there's no gimmies, Paul. But I certainly think out of Celtic, Rangers and Hearts have got the toughest fixture this weekend.
Paul, thanks for your call. 0808 17 17 700. News is next. Thank you.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. Watch live at 5 p.m. weekdays on YouTube. Join the conversation on 0808 17 17 700. Talking Scottish football first.
In hour one, Mark Guidi said, guess who he thinks is a contender for Manager of the Year? We got it wrong saying, what, John McGlynn? Askew? Roll? Who else did we say?
Who else you said?
McInnes, the favourite, or is he? Or Martin O'Neill? But of course, Stevie Clark in this World Cup year. We can't wait. The countdown is on. What was it, 55 days or something like that? Just over 50 days, isn't it, to the start of the tournament? It's under 60 anyway. I haven't looked for a couple of days at the calendar there. Of course, in Boston, Massachusetts is where it starts. The game with Haiti, and then a few days later with Morocco, and then Miami, the game with Brazil. It's going to be amazing, Mark. You can't wait. You're organised for it, and more people are beginning to talk about it, but not as much because of, well, the cup games at the weekend, cup semi-finals, and now the run into this title.
I think 53 sleeps to go for
Thank
Scotland's
you.
first game against Haiti in Boston. But yeah, Paul, I'm going to go over for a week. I'm going to take in game 2, Scotland v Morocco. So looking forward to that. Of course, we were there 28 years ago, Paul, Scotland's last game in a World Cup. So it'd be nice to see that. I don't have any tickets yet. Get over with my pal, but I'm sure we'll find by hook or by hook. We'll get in to see Scotland play, and looking forward to it. Credit to Steve Clark. I mean, I know it seems like a long time ago, but what a night that night against Denmark. You know, McTominay, Tierney, Shankland, McLean. You know, just a great experience, and I just hope they go and do well, and I'm sure they will.
Peter, looking forward to it.
I can't wait, Paul. The World Cup is the pinnacle. You know, when you're talking about, you obviously get the Champions League, but the World Cup for me is all the great memories. You're talking about that Brazil team. You're talking about Scotland with Socrates there and all these players. Wow. That was magical, and the World Cup just brings something different. There's no doubt of that. The top quality players playing at their best. I think it was the last cup final. Was it France and Argentina? Was there any better cup final?
No, of course,
One
Mbappe,
Messi, you know.
Messi.
And that's the standard of quality player you're talking about. You know, you're getting the best of the best, and as I say, really looking forward to it. And as I say, unfortunately, I'm not like Mark. I can't afford to go.
Oh, you can. Jackie's on asking who's going to win it. Peter, who do you reckon are the contenders?
I've got to, I can only see France, you know. I just think they've got that much quality. And I watched Mbappe the other evening there, and I thought it was a brilliant performance by him. But the only guy that outshines him at this moment in time is Harry Kane, and that's my only concern, because he's playing so well. England, he could actually take England, because they've got the players that could do it, and they've obviously got the striker that can do it. So I think it's going to be between they two, believe it or not.
France or England? Yeah. Wow. Mark?
I don't think a European team's won it in the Americas, or I think so. It'll be a first time,
and that could be a factor, isn't it? With the climate, the heat, depends where you're playing.
The climate, France, obviously. I'd never rule out Brazil with Ancelotti. You know, when you talk about a big game manager who knows how to win things, and he's as good as anybody. Tuchel, he's definitely got something. There's no doubt about it, and he'll have them focused, and he's ruthless. He doesn't care, you know, in terms of who, you know, he will play what he thinks. He won't pander to the England fans or the English media. I think Spain have got an outside chance, Paul. I think Spain could win it, but I'll hold off till I see the squads, till I study the squads.
That's what means injuries.
I'm going to do an in-depth analysis of the 48 squads, and then I'll choose who's going to win.
It's going to be absolutely brilliant, and we're always watching and listening in this programme for how the Scots are doing abroad or down south, and with Scott McTominay, Napoli, not the season they had last year, but he's so loved over there. Andy Robertson's been in focus. What a reception he's getting. I see they got that late goal. Virgil van Dijk, of course, a former adopted Scot, because he started off up at Celtic, and Andy Robertson's getting a lot of praise for what he's done at Liverpool, and he's been a bit underrated. Peter, would you agree?
Well, I think even at this time, Paul, Kerkez, I think, came into the team. I thought he was going to keep his place and Andy would be out. But I think Liverpool look a different team when Andy plays. He's another one, a bit like James Tavernier for me. He loses too many goals at the back post, even on Saturday again there. But he brings a different energy, I think, to Liverpool. The way Liverpool want to play, whether it was under Klopp prior or when he plays for Slot now. But you can obviously say the manager's made his mind up that Kerkez is going to be his number one at fullback, so that Andy's doing the right thing and moving on somewhere else.
Where's he going? Any words where it'll be? Tottenham are mentioned January.
Yeah, I think if Tottenham stay up, it looks as though there's a deal. Listen, what I would say, one thing now, as in like this summer, he will not be going to Celtic. So I think you can safely rule that one out. But Paul, he'll have many options, because he's still a top player. He's got so much to offer. He lives and breathes the game. He's an outstanding professional. He's a leader in the dressing room. He'll drive up standards off the park, but like some probably that Spurs would need, you know, somebody to help. But he's not going to Spurs in the Championship, and rightly so. He's a top level player.
Will they stay up, do you think, Tottenham? They have to win. They've got a huge game.
I don't think they're going to have to go. I think they're going to go down. I think they're going to go.
Wow. Peter?
Well, I hope West Ham stay up.
Of course. Point last night, were you disappointed?
No, I think it ended up being a good point. Palace is a difficult place to go.
Sure.
You know, I think that was a good point. You couldn't go and lose it. That's for sure. But I've just got a sneaking suspicion with Tottenham. The only thing I see now is because Romero and that's out for the season, that could be a problem for him at centre back. You know, the other teams are fighting and digging in. Forrest had an unbelievable result at the weekend, so it's a real strong finish to the bottom of that league.
We'll come back to that shortly. We've just been talking about the World Cup, and of course Craig Ferguson, the Scot who's raising money for SAMH, the mental health charity, is on the line on his tartan trek. Craig, good evening or good morning. Where are you? Hello.
I think it's like midday at the moment, but it's very good to chat to you guys. How you getting on?
Hi, Craig.
Great.
Hi,
I'm
Craig.
here with the former Scotland star Peter Grant and Paul Cooney, and Mark Guidi, Scotland's top journalist, are here. Craig, I saw you set off. I heard you on with Zoe and with Stephen at breakfast. I saw you with my friend Ross King, of course, on the Lorraine show, leaving there. Yeah, he loved meeting you there.
People all along the way.
Yeah.
People have been so supportive. So no, I can't thank everyone enough. It's been amazing to bump into so many Scots living out here in America and different people all along the route.
You sure you're there? You sound as though you're next door, Craig. It's a brilliant line. So tell us about it. We know about SAMH. You know, I'm involved with the Kilt Walk this weekend. There's loads of people walking in Scotland, the Glasgow Kilt Walk, 20,000. But you're there on your own, I think with your paddle, just helping to support your colleague. How's it been so far?
Do you know, it's honestly already, it's been, you know, such a memorable challenge. Like, I'll never forget this. Me and Matthew have already been speaking about that, you know, one day when we're grey and old and we're able to say, mind when we walked across America. But it's been amazing. I would be lying if I said it's been easy along the way, you know, getting up every single day. You said you're going to go and do the Kilt Walk.
Yeah.
The Kilt Walk's an incredible day out. It's about 23.5 miles, I want to say. I've done that myself. But, you know, I'm waking up every single morning and walking about 35 to 40 miles a day. So it's just, it can be unrelenting at times. And it's the hardest part about it is not only doing it once, you know, it's never a flash in the pan. You need to get yourself up, get ready and go again every single day. But to be honest, it's been an incredible experience, and all the people that we've met along the way, I'll already never forget it. And not many people get to say they've walked half of the length of the USA like I can right now.
Where are you at the moment then, Craig?
So I'm very happy to say we have just reached the halfway point of the
Fantastic,
challenge.
yeah,
I'm in
brilliant.
Kansas City at the moment, which, how strange is this? Kansas City is actually in Missouri. I would never have guessed that. But anyways, I'm here in Kansas City. So the halfway point of the entire challenge, which is just amazing.
And
Mo Johnson's old.
I was going to say, Mo Johnson.
Mo Johnson.
Well done.
He's hiding down there now.
And Craig, you're raising money for SAMH, which is a brilliant charity helping people. What made you, just to refresh people maybe who haven't heard you on before, why did you decide to do this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason why I decided to do these challenges for sort of mental health goes all the way back to 2024. You know, Scotland had just qualified for the Euros. Everyone was discussing how we're going to get there, how we're going to get to the game. And one of my amazing pals back home, his name's Stu, and he flippantly suggested, oh, you should just walk there. Why don't you do that? And something about that idea really stuck with me. And, you know, almost as a thank you to Stu, and very unfortunately, his father, Russell, took his own life 7 years prior. And I kind of wanted to say, well, you know, you helped me on this journey. You kind of came up with the idea. The very least that I can do is kind of give back and do this for his legacy. And, you know, that's a legacy that continues on to this challenge and is right at the heart of it. That was the kind of spark that lit the flame for me going and doing this. But now when you hear of every single person's challenge, the people that you meet along the way who kindly share their stories with mental health, you very quickly realise that, you know, this isn't just an isolated incident. You know, there's not just one person out there who's been affected by mental health or sadly, you know, took their own life. So many people know stories like this and know people affected by it. So I've always said, look, I'm under no false illusion. I know that me walking across America in a kilt isn't going to change the world, but, you know, even if it helps one person, even if there's a little bit of good that can come out of it, in my eyes, I think, well, it's a challenge worth doing.
Good luck to you, Craig. It's Mark here. I just want to ask you, you say there you do 35 to 40 miles every day. So when you get up in the morning, whichever part of America you're in, Craig, do you have the same routine every day, as in, like, I'll do 2 hours or stop for 15 minutes, or do you try and mix it up every day?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, Mark, to be honest with you. I'd say for the most part, every day probably looks about 80% the same. It changes based on where we are, if we're coming through cities, etc. But a kind of day-to-day would be, I wake up at about 6 in the morning, every morning, get my breakfast, to try and eat as much as possible. Then I need to go for my shower, tape up my feet, and get myself ready, like if anyone's doing the kilt walk, they might
Yeah.
need to do.
Yep.
And then I'll normally get out and do a minimum of about 10 miles without stopping. So that's usually about 3.5 hours. Then have a wee break, get some lunch, go again for another 15 or so, come in, get lunch again, another big feed. I burn about 5,000 calories, so as much food as possible, and then I get back out and I go again. But like I said, it changes if you're coming through cities, if you're going in the middle of nowhere in the kind of countryside. And then I usually finish the day at about the 35-mile mark, which is normally about 80,000 steps. And like I said, burning about 5,000 calories. So it's long old days, and then you know at the back of your mind when you get in and you get your shower that I need to be up in 8 hours and do the same again tomorrow.
How many, just a wee aside, how many pair of training shoes, running shoes will you go through?
Well, I'm on 3. I'm on my 3rd pair at the moment, and already when you look at the bottom of them, the tread's completely gone. So I wouldn't be surprised if my toe starts poking out of this pair in the next few days. So while I'm in Kansas City, then I'll try and get another pair bought. But I reckon I'll probably finish on about 6 pairs in total, which is just crazy.
Well, you'll keep them. Keep your trainers and auction them off and raise more money for SAMH. You can sign them and auction them off.
So how much have you raised and how can we donate?
Absolutely. So far, we have raised over £100,000, so about £110,000 so far, which is honestly, I'm so incredibly proud of that this far. You know, there's a long way to go. So the best way for people to support and to donate this is to visit the tartantrek.co.uk. You can go on there, donate. You know, I'm doing all this walking, but the least people could do is go on and really get behind this cause and support. It would mean the world to me and to everyone who's been affected by mental health in their lifetime.
tartantrek.co.uk. Isn't it phenomenal, Peter?
I was just going to speak to Craig. You sound like my wife going shopping there when you were talking about all 8 miles. That's on the shopping trek. But Craig, I know you're a St Mirren man. What did you manage to see any of the game at the weekend? Did you take a breather?
I had the commentary on, but I was going absolutely mental jumping on the side of the highway when we equalised. I couldn't believe it.
They done you proud. They done you proud.
And then they done me proud, and then by the time that I had uploaded my Instagram, I think we'd conceded 4 by then. So we won't talk about that, but you know, St Mirren have had their fun for this season. We'll let a small team like Celtic go on and win it.
Brilliant. But listen, fantastic. It's a great achievement you've done, and you should be so proud of yourself so far, and I know you've got a lot to do. So keep safe, keep well, and keep it going.
When did you set off? When was that? I heard you on Go, as I mentioned. When was that, a month ago?
It was about 2 months ago. It was the 24th of February.
Oh, wow.
So I've been on the road now for coming up for exactly 2 months. And we've got about 50 days left. So we're slightly over the halfway mark, but you know, now it comes to a point where me mentally I look at it and go, we're counting down the days rather than counting up, which I think just has such a big positive mental shift, you know, rather than going upwards. So really happy, and the end is not quite in sight yet, but it's getting closer by the day.
And how many people are getting involved to help you? There must be hundreds, thousands of people who are donating. tartantrek.co.uk, and everything's going to SAMH, which is brilliant.
Phenomenal.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Phenomenal.
Amazing, Craig. And what about Matthew? How's he doing? Is he he's doing your social media and all the rest, and just keeping you going?
Big Matt, for anyone that doesn't know, he's my best pal who's came out to join me on the challenge. I knew with America that it wouldn't be possible if we didn't have somewhere to sleep. So Matthew drives the RV, but he's an absolute legend. You know, the whole thing is I kind of credit back to him, because without someone here, it wouldn't be possible. So I owe Matthew a lot. He quit his job to come out here and do this as well. So you know, if anyone wants to hire someone when he comes back, but no, Matthew's a legend, and he's having an absolute blast as well. The two of us have just got that reward of enjoying the World Cup and really taking it all in once we finish in our mind the full way. And
I love your enthusiasm. You can hear it. I mean, you are so enthusiastic, energetic. It's phenomenal. I'm just tired thinking about it. You've done over 1,500 miles already.
He speaks remarkably well.
Isn't it brilliant?
And as you say, if it helps one person, that's all it takes.
Well, it'll help many. What's the Scottish thing like then? If you get the kilt on, I know you did at the beginning. What's the temperature like? And when people find out you're Scottish, what are they saying?
Yeah, so I wear the kilt the entire time. I believe, there's no way to verify it, but I
Yep.
believe I'm going to be the first man in history to walk the entire length of America while wearing a kilt throughout the whole thing. So
Wow.
that's at the heart of it as well. You know, the reason why I do this, obviously, you know, the mental health causes is so deeply important to me and why I do it. But at the end of the day, I'm just like anyone else. I'm just a football fan who wants to go and watch my country and this occasion play at a major tournament and take it all in. I just happen to do that by walking across entire continents to get there. But people have been so friendly. You know, I think that it's a great honour, the fact that Scots can travel anywhere in the world and people, you know, look so fondly on the country. Everyone just has amazing things to say about, we love Scottish people. You know, everyone always relays their amazing stories of when they visited Scotland. That makes me so proud as well. You know, it's that identity which I carry with me throughout the whole thing. I always said at the start, I'm like, you know, I want to go and show America and the world that are kind of watching the World Cup just what Scotland fans are willing to do to go to games and just what the Tartan Army are made of. So people have been amazing, and everyone loves it as soon as you tell them you're actually Scottish and not just an American dressing up as one.
What have you got in your playlist? Is it Paolo Nutini, Jerry Rafferty? I'm just thinking of great people coming out of Paisley who've lit up music forever. Paolo Nutini, of course, is he one of your heroes?
Without a shadow of a doubt. I'm usually listening to your show, but when I'm not doing that,
love it.
then I've got a bit of Paulo on in the years. Yep, Jerry Rafferty, of course, the Paisley legends that kind of come before me. But
Kelly Marie,
lots and lots of music.
Kelly Marie,
when the Saints go marching in.
That's it. Exactly. What are you missing most from home?
What time? I mean, I could go down the conventional route of friends and family and stuff, but I think my roll and square sausage in the morning is the thing that I miss the most. Like, honestly, see, just the home. It's on a real, like, it's the silly things that you miss. It's home comfort stuff, like, you know, just waking up, making your breakfast in the morning, like go and doing all this and having a lie down. It's all the wee small things that you miss. But I miss my friends and family so deeply. But I know that the reward at the end of this is seeing them on the other side. So that kind of keeps me motivated. And, you know, I speak to them so much as well. You know, I'll chat for hours and hours on end with friends and family back home. And in a weird way, you almost feel, you know, it's closer than ever with how much time you kind of stay in conversation with everyone. So the thing that I miss the most about home actually is the kind of silly things, but definitely a rolling sausage, man. I'm dying for one.
Craig, set Big Matthew a challenge while you're doing all that walking. Tell him to get in the car and go and find you somewhere and get you £1 a square slice.
Exactly.
and a wee frying pan, crack on it, and a Morton's roll.
A key question, or McGee's roll, of course, as well. Here's the key question: tomato sauce or brown sauce with the square sausage?
Oh, right, I'm going to get crucified, but I actually don't have any sauce on my rolls.
All right, that's fine.
That's all right. I thought you were going to say tomato there.
Listen, final question from me: have you got tickets for the games?
I don't have tickets for the games currently, but I'm hopeful that, you know, maybe one will come up along the way. I might need to fork out and get one for me and Big Matthew to celebrate. But we always said, like, first mission is getting there, then we can deal with the tickets. So, you know, if anyone's listening or any companies are able to put us in the way of tickets, I would appreciate it massively. But first and foremost, the priority is actually making it there on time.
Isn't it amazing? Surely somebody will come up to walk the length and breadth of the United States of America in a kilt for SAMH. It's just brilliant. And I love your
and so much enthusiasm
energy.
about doing it.
Isn't
you
it?
know what I mean?
Inspiration.
It's incredible. No, incredible.
And Big Matthew giving up his job.
Aye.
Brilliant.
Incredible.
Brilliant.
Andy's rolling sausage.
Yeah. Listen, we look forward to meeting you either over there or back here afterwards. Guys, we'll keep in touch with you. And I hope so many Go Radio listeners will go on tartantrek.co.uk. Whatever you can give, 5 or 10 or 20, whatever, it's all going to help SAMH.
Thank you so much, guys.
All the best, Craig.
Cheers, Craig.
Pleasure. Cheers, Craig. Cheers, Matthew. Thank you so much. He's brilliant, isn't he?
Ah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Great enthusiasm to do it, you know, and he seems as if he's enjoying it. It's a lot of hard work for him. I mean, I'd done the Camino and we were doing 25k a day.
Yep.
And I'm thinking to myself, it was a hard shift. He's talking about 35 to 40 miles a day. You know, it's quite incredible, actually.
How can we not get a good line from the Gorbals when Gary was on last night? And there's Craig from Kansas City. Yeah. Wow.
Brilliant. Great.
Amazing, isn't it?
That is. What a story.
Okay. 0808 17 17 700. I think we're all lifted by that. We're
absolutely
talking the World Cup. We're talking the run in to the title race. St Johnstone tonight. Simo Alakari could go into the record books, taking St Johnstone up this early in the season. And what about Neil Lennon? We'll give him a moment just after this.
Go Radio Football Show with Burger King.
This time tomorrow night, Kevin Kyle will be here, the former Rangers, Hearts, Sunderland and Scotland star, along with Aidan McGeady, of course, but a Celtic great, who played, of course, for Celtic, also at Sunderland as well, played St Petersburg as well, as we know, and Everton. And Ireland. Yep, indeed, only gave up. So the two of them will be here tomorrow night on the programme. Peter Grant is here tonight, along with Mark Guidi. Quite a few people coming on there saying, look, well done to Craig over there. It's just amazing. If you just missed it, catch up. Wherever you get your podcast, you can hear him in Kansas City, walking right across America. It's absolutely phenomenal. I've heard we walk 500 miles, but that's 3,000 miles, Peter.
Incredible.
Isn't it?
How many?
Fantastic.
His mate Matthew, great credit to them, both of them, and I wish them the best of luck. And I'm sure they'll get tickets off someone, somewhere along the line.
Lazio interested in Arnie Engels. That's the news today. He's back in. Peter, would it surprise you if next season?
No, because I'm a supporter of Arnie Engels, as you know. I just think if he's allowed to play the role that suits him, he's got quality on the ball, he makes good runs forward, the balance, sometimes he's getting asked to play a position to suit the team. I think we need that freedom just to make that run between full-back and centre-back. He scored a lot more goals, a lot more opportunities. He's got some fantastic delivery, put a great pass in at the switches play at the weekend to start the move for one of the goals. And he's been out for a long time, and I think he's been sadly missed. I think he's became a better player when he's been out the team, and I think the supporters will appreciate him more for the talent that he has got. And I wouldn't be surprised if people are interested in him. And I think he's only going to get better. Yeah. I think once the club, if he's going to be at Celtic Football Club, once a manager comes in, if it's not Martin, whoever's going to come in, because Martin likes him, if Martin stays, Martin will get the best out of him. If it's not Martin, the new manager's got to come in, and if Arnie Engels is still part of Celtic Football Club at that particular time, I think that'll be a fresh start for everyone, to give everybody a fresh. There's been far too many changes, for sure. The Belgian, Mark, he could play a role, he probably will, between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, I agree with Peter. I know he's not everybody's cup of tea. A lot of the Celtic fans are not having him, but I think technically he's very, very good. You know, he's a really intelligent footballer. Nottingham Forest are willing to pay in the region of 20 million quid for him in January, but I think he'll be at that situation come the summer as a football club. Regardless of who the manager is, you either he's got 2 years to go, Paul. Right. So you either fatten him up and get him to sign an extension, or you sell him because he'll be at his optimum at that. You don't want to risk it with a year to go. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. But I think he's a top player, and if Celtic are going to be successful during the next 6 games, then Engels will have a part to play.
Okay. Andy's been on about Rangers fans saying a word for Nico Raskin, of course, the other Belgian. We're talking there about Arnie Engels as a potential player of the year for Rangers. If he plays the way he did just last week, just before the break, then he could be Raskin
in the second half.
Yes. Okay.
Because I think if he gets this out, he said he's a number 6 and playing the deeper role. Get the best out of Nico Raskin is playing him as a midfield player, and that means being in that what they call a number 8 position now. He gets forward to support, he runs in the box very well, he's got a goal in him. That's where he's freedom, and somebody's got to get this out his head. He's this sitting midfield player. He's not disciplined to play that role, Paul. And if he played that other area of the pitch, I think there'd be no doubt. I think he could be up there with the likes of Nygren, scoring the amount of goals he can if he was playing in that area of the pitch. So whoever's told him, and I know he keeps going on about Belgium, he plays there with Belgium, he doesn't really, because Anana plays that role and he's got that freedom to run. He should just be that one that's advanced and go and support the front men. If he does that, he looks a very, very good player. Once he becomes a number 6, he becomes half the player in my eyes.
Mark?
He's a good player. Again, likewise with him, if Rangers are going to be successful, Paul, and become champions in the next 5 games, Raskin will be at the heart of it. I like his energy. I like his commitment. He's got a wee eye for goal as well. Get him into that final third. But I agree with Peter. He does want to come and drop deep, but Chikwane just he's a main man. He'll be disciplined and he will follow tactical instructions. Whereas, I think Raskin's always got one eye in the final end of the pitch, and there's nothing wrong with that, but just stay in that role.
Let's look at Dunfermline. What a weekend it's been for them, getting to the Scottish Cup final to beat Falkirk, and that was no mean feat. Obviously, it's a derby, but they're the Championship club. Falkirk top 6 in the Premiership. And Neil Lennon, what a day for him and for his football club into the final.
No, it's certainly on the map. To be in the National Cup final. If we were here a year ago, Ronnie. Scratching a result against Queen's Park. To finish 8th in the championship with a skeleton squad. So it's a huge, tribute to the owners. People like John Cahoon, who works tirelessly in the background. My backroom team, Ian Brunskill's amazing to keep me as calm as he does. Kevin McDonald, Andy Collier, Gary. It's a very united club. I'm loving it. And I love the players. I don't get angry with them anymore. They like losing the rag now and again, but I just can't get angry. They're just brilliant. They've covered themselves in glory. And now we've got the big show to come on 23rd of May, but we've a bit of work to do in the league. So the bad news for them is they're in tomorrow. When you're at the business end of the season, and that's where we wanted to be, it's game after game, it's big game after big game. And now they've got a target on their back as well, so a lot of teams will want to take their scalp. And that's the beauty of being where they are. You have to be on edge all the time.
And he spoke at the end. You could see the emotion as he dedicated the win to his late dad, Jerry.
Yeah, I was thinking about my father. Lost him in December. He'd have loved this. So that was for him. Well, he was the biggest influence in my life, not professionally and personally. So he'd have loved this. He'd have been outside with a cigarette, his fedora, his walking stick, telling everyone I told you. So he'd have loved it. So yeah, I'm hoping the family take a bit of solace in this today. And it's been difficult for us, but he's always been with me. I feel dead calm when I think about him. So again, I've lost him. It's a huge loss to me, but it's been I feel him sometimes, you know what I mean?
Peter.
Phenomenal job. And delighted for him, he said a lot of ups and downs, and I don't mean that, I just mean criticisms when it was undue at times. And to get into Dunfermline and people say, he's been backed with the new owners and whatever, that's fine, but he's got a young squad, it's full of energy. He's got players that were there prior, he's changed a lot of players, obviously. And in every game I've seen them, against the Aberdeens, the Hibs, the Falkers, they've deserved to win. It's not been luck, it's not been fortune. And Celtic will know they're in a game. Celtic will know they're in a game in the cup final. There's no doubt of that. Neil knows a lot about Martin knows a lot about Neil. There's obviously the pressure comes on to Celtic, but they'll know they're in a game because they've got people who can run. You've got like Matty Todd, the young Matty Todd who was there when I was there, and they were excellent. And he's brought them that, and he gives them that belief that they can do there, and you can do it. You'd heard them talking. Sometimes he's given a wee bit too much away after the game. I thought on Saturday, because if you're playing against Celtic, you make them defend and whatever. So that'll be interesting to see his tactics. When he gets into the game actually, because when you're doing the commentary, sometimes when you're playing them next, you've got to be careful what you say because they're aware of it. But that's the things he was saying, and he's right. He'll mix the game up. He'll know when they're on to play. So Celtic will know they're in a game. There is no doubt of that. But he's right. I think they've still got a big say. I think whoever finishes second bottom, and if Dunfermline get to that area, I think it'll be a really tough game. I wouldn't be surprised if Dunfermline get to that position to get into that final against the team in the Premier League, that they could go up with Neil Lennon at the helm.
Mark, go whichever way you want. Neil Lennon himself, he's had such a tough time in football. We know what happened when he was playing with Northern Ireland, and he had the death threat. He had death threat when he was Celtic manager at one point as well, bullets, and and he's been pilloried for a long, long time. There's a good article in Press Box by Graham Spears overnight, and he was just discussing it, the way that actually he's now getting some more recognition. He said he was one of the most disliked figures in Scottish football to now being widely admired and held in high esteem all across the game, even among many Rangers fans, and what's happened. Because we all know him personally. Of course, he's really combative and all that, but it was unfair, a lot of the criticism he got over the years.
Yeah, first of all, just to touch on what you said about his dad, that I bumped into him at Glasgow Airport when he's flying over to Northern Ireland to see his dad. That day, I think, was the last time he got to see him. So it was great that he managed to get that day with his old man before he passed away. His managerial record, there was a lot aimed at him for Celtic not winning 10 in a row during the COVID season. But it was a collective collapse at the football club. But don't forget his contribution. You talk about 9 in a row. He started at title 1, 2 and 3 and finished it with title 8 and 9. So his contribution to Celtic as player, coach and manager has been absolutely fantastic. And
5
what I love
of them.
5 of them during 9 in a row. 1, 2 and 3, 8 and 9.
Wow.
So what I like about him there is as well, he took the Hibs job when we won the championship. He took Dunfermline when they were fighting relegation. He could have said, no, I'm Neil Lennon, I'm
Sure.
too big for Dunfermline. But he met I think he knocked it back, and then the owner came back from him again, and they'd face-to-face chats, the American fella, and if he's sold on it, he says, you know what, there's a vision, and I think they've said, look, you don't have to get up this season, but we just want to see progress. So, you know, Peter will know when you've got a good owner, an understanding owner, and the guy owns football clubs all over the world. He's bought into Neil Lennon, and just there, when you think about it, this time last year, they're struggling to get a result against Queen's Park.
Yeah.
And I see guys like, you know, when I worked at St John's, you see guys like Chris Kane,
Yeah,
you know,
of
just
course,
an honest
yeah.
journeyman, but
Still
he is
there,
leading
yeah.
the line, you know,
Yeah.
the young Todd boys, you know, Oxford, your goalkeeper, you know, getting a tune. I was Charlie Gilmore, who was a kid at St Johnstone, a kid at Arsenal, you know, being the captain in the engine room, the team. What you can say, Paul, without a shadow of a doubt about Neil Lennon, is he is an excellent manager. Excellent manager. He gets a tune out of players. Whatever his methods are, he gets a tune out of players, and he will make it difficult for Celtic on May the 23rd. There's no doubt Celtic will be clear favourites. And you'd imagine 9 times out of 10 Celtic will win the cup. But if they're not on it, Neil Lennon's players will take advantage.
Is it too harsh to say it was a dreadful game, mind you, on Saturday?
Yeah, but you'll find that a lot of cup games, Paul.
Aye.
People are
Is it
always
the
nervous.
nerves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Semi-final, I can imagine. You know, I've been involved in them. It's the one you didn't want to lose. You were so close to being at the final. And predominantly semis weren't played at Hampden. But it was the one you thought, we want to be there in May.
Yep.
That's where you wanted to be. And there was a lot of nerves. I found them more nervous than the final.
Did you?
Yeah,
I
really
can imagine.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're so desperate to get there. You didn't want to miss out. And listen, it's an interesting one there, listening to Mark talk there. If Neil hadn't been at Celtic as manager before, and he was doing this just now with the jobs he's done prior, would he be in the running for the Celtic manager's job with the job he's done at Dunfermline at this moment in time?
Good question.
And I think the answer would be yes. But because he's been there before, he's probably, the name won't be there. But the job he's done, that's how highly I regard the job he's done at Dunfermline.
I'm going to throw that to you in a second, Mark. Here's the final word from Neil Lennon about the game itself when he won on penalties. Brad Spencer got the first one, didn't he? And when it went right to the end after the 120 odd minutes.
That's as good as it gets. We're beating Hibs, Aberdeen and Falkirk now. So we're here, believe it or not, I can't believe I'm saying it, we're in a cup final on merit. The players were unbelievable. The game was attritional. There wasn't much in it. You know, I'm saying to my staff, a mistake might win it, you know, or a bit of brilliance. Wasn't much happening, but I thought we had the better chances. I thought Callum had a great chance early on. I thought we started the game well, and then we got a little bit ragged with the ball. We changed the shape, and we were better, but we kept working the ball in the good areas, and our final ball were just lacking a bit of quality at the end, which isn't like us. And then the kids got 2 great chances to win it, but he was a right sub to make because, you know, you could see everybody was looking leggy. You know, both teams put so much into it, and then, you know, for us to win the penalty shootout, I felt we deserved it. You know, there wasn't any, you couldn't tell who was the Premier League team out there today. There was a lot of nerves, a lot of tension, and that's totally understandable for a semi-final. I've been involved as many as a player and a manager now. But the overriding emotion is one of a huge amount of pride in the club, in the players, in the support. We've come a long way in a year.
They sure have, Mark.
Yeah, and you know, just thinking as well, Hibs, Aberdeen and Falkirk, unless I'm mistaken, didn't concede a goal in any of the 3 games. 3 clean sheets against SPFL Premiership opposition, so credit for that. The other thing I was going to say, Peter, sort of about his spell, and you go back to Neil's first spell, his first title as manager of Celtic was in 2012. Rangers came off the back of 3 in a row under Walter Smith, and we spoke right at the top of the programme about James Forrest. Celtic were 3-0 down at Rugby Park against Kilmarnock. I was there that day covering the game, and they get back to 3-3. I think if Celtic lost that game, Neil Lennon would have lost his job. James Forrest helped turn the game and get Celtic a 3-3 draw. I think Anthony Stokes did as well, but Forrest was instrumental. Celtic went on to win the league. They clawed back the points deficit from Rangers, and then they kicked on. It was the start of 9 in a row. So just wee moments, a player that went, and Neil Lennon gave James Forrest his opportunity as a kid, as a teenager. So we're talking about James Forrest in there 14 years ago. He was helping saving another man, a Celtic manager's job.
It's incredible, isn't it? Here's Martin O'Neill, the final point on this, speaking about the final up against Neil Lennon's Dunfermline?
Yeah, I've just done an interview with him. He's up. He's doing some punditry work. Gosh, he gets everywhere. But he has done remarkably well. Did brilliantly for me at Leicester and at Celtic. And I think I mentioned to you on Friday, he's done brilliantly. And here at Dunfermline, what an effort yesterday. And yeah, so when the time comes, I look forward to it.
Wow. It's Martin Neal is quite funny, isn't he? He says he gets everywhere. But Charlie Mulgrew was on the programme on Premier Sports, and he said that Neil was quieter then with the gaffer. He still calls Martin Neal gaffer. He won't be saying that in cup final day, but it's quite a relationship between those two. 30 years together, on and off.
Oh yeah, phenomenal. I'm sure it was. I think Martin's been quoted as saying it was his most important, if not his best signing.
Yep.
You know, so the bottom line is, yes, there's a hell of a lot of respect, but please believe me, on that day, the cup final, we'll be desperate to beat each other. You know, there is absolutely no doubt of that, and that's that competitive edge that's probably made both of them very successful, and they'll not lose that. And come that day, they'll be shaking hands, yes, and there'll be a lot of respect before it, but on that pitch, they'll be like thinking nothing better than beating.
I'll tell you what, they could use the two of them tonight at Leicester against Hull. Leicester could be going down. So a year ago, in the top flight in England, now in the Championship, could be going down. We're heading towards, the final run-in tonight. Looking forward to the games this weekend. That's coming next.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King.
Well, this weekend it's back to the league action. Aberdeen against Kilmarnock, St Mirren against Livy, Celtic against Falkirk. So the first two at 3 o'clock. Celtic obviously live on the telly at 5:30. I take it that would be Sky. Mark's looking at you, he's nodding. And then on Sunday, Dundee United against Dundee, the derby at 2. And then 3 o'clock, Rangers against Motherwell. 4:30, the Edinburgh derby also on Sky. Hibs against Hearts. We're going to talk about the top of the table, and we do a lot, but at the other end, Mark, what are you thinking? St Mirren need to get a win against Livy, who would be, I think, down then, wouldn't they? Because Kelly are at Aberdeen. So you look at those two fixtures at the same time. Wow, playoff positions.
Yeah, I mean, Livingston can get relegated this weekend, Paul, and I think they probably will. But anyway, they'll go, whether it's this weekend or game 5, they will go as the bottom club. It's about who's in the playoff. I think looking at it, Paul, 36 points will be fine. Might need 37, but I think 36 will keep you out of 11th place. So effectively, if you're Aberdeen, Stephen Robinson, you're saying, just beat Kilmarnock. You beat Kilmarnock, we'll be fine. We'll be all right. So just go and do our business at home, at Pittodrie. Big crowd in. But likewise, Neil McCann and Billy Dodds, our message to the Kelly players will be, let's go and bring Aberdeen. Let's drag them right back into it. Let's go and get up to 31 points within touching distance. I think Dundee can still get dragged in. The Dundee derby as well. And then you've got St Mirren out of the cup at the weekend. So their focus, again, is just winning 2 or getting 7 points. And they obviously need to, they'll be at home to Livingston. So they'll fancy their chances of getting an important 3 points. And by the way, just on it, I think Craig McLeish, I think he's really shown a lot as a young coach, taking Stuart Taylor in with him, and I think they were a credit on Sunday afternoon. And
great job application for next season. But look, there's still 5 big games to go. Mark, you'll be on Friday with Barry and Rob, so we'll get your predictions. In general, Peter, the other end of the table, what are you thinking about Aberdeen, Kelly? It's quite some game.
I think it's a game Kilmarnock need to win.
Right.
Because I see St Mirren winning against Livingston.
Okay.
And if they win, St Mirren, that's 6 points. You know, with 4 games to go, would that be? With 6 points?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't see Kelly. You know, I think them equal themselves out there with the games. There's a lot of pressure comes on Kilmarnock, and I just think that would be St Mirren thinking we're in a fantastic position now, especially what I've seen of them playing in the last few weeks, the way they've tried to play. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I'm talking about they've mixed it, but I think they're a danger at set plays. They play with 2 powerful strikers up front. They've got midfield players who can run forward. If they take less chance at the back, I think they could finish the season strongly, St Mirren.
Mark, Mandron, you can see his quality.
Yeah, I mean, he's finished at the second goal. I mean, the header at the back post, obviously, but he's finished for the second goal. Just his pace, his composure. I think he'll be tired as well. He's put a right shift in. He's managed to shake off the centre half and get away in a lovely finish. So they'll be in a high. They'll be fine. Yep. St Mirren, I think I said the other week, I kind of see, because I think Dundee United will win the derby, I can see possibly Dundee getting dragged in. I can see Dundee getting dragged in. I don't see Aberdeen winning on Saturday. I'm not saying Kilmarnock will win, but I think it'll still be a lie. But looking at it just now, Paul, I think Kilmarnock have got a real tough they're really tough fighting their hands to avoid finishing in an 11th spot. But I wouldn't rule them out getting out of it.
He's won the battle before at Dundee, didn't he? Kept them up before. He was saying in the media today, Peter, look, we don't have any fear. We're really going to go for this. But I mean, everyone would agree it's a huge game. Jamie's been on from Kilmarnock saying, let's hope if we could win at Pittodrie, it's a big if, then that would be massive for them.
Yeah, the big thing is, I'm sure Neil and Dodgy, there's absolutely no doubt they'll have that confidence and they'll be putting that into their players. There's absolutely no doubt. They've been over the course before as players. They know what that means. But it's your players when they get across that line. That's the secret, Paul. If they got that mentality once they get across the line, if something goes against them, you've seen it against Mull when they lose quick goals, how they started the game, and they do a lot of good things, but they've started the game, lost a goal in so many seconds, and you think that puts herself under pressure, and they don't prepare for that. It's Billy and that, as I say, and Neil will be fantastic. There'll be no problem. They've been in this situation before. It's the players, and that's why I just think at this moment in time, the St Mirren players look as if they know what they're doing. They've got a structure of what they're doing. They've got guys that's playing with that little bit of confidence. And I still think the Kelly boys are looking for that confidence, and that's why I fancy St Mirren to get out of that.
Livy on 16. They could go down, of course, if they lose, as Mark said. Kilmarnock on 28, St Mirren 30, Dundee 33, along with Aberdeen. And then there's a gap, obviously, with Dundee United on 40. And then you're into the top 6. Aberdeen, Stephen Robinson. We know he's such a good manager. Mark, he won the cup already, the League Cup.
Yeah.
They got a big win the other week, and they really
Against
needed
Hibs,
that. That was huge for them. Martin Boyle, could you see him there next season?
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll have options. Obviously, it's been announced he's definitely leaving Hibernian. He's been a great servant to them. I think he is an Aberdeen boy, Paul. I think that's his city. I think that's his home city, around about that area. So it'll be well, but he'll see what kind of offers they've got on the table. Again, with Aberdeen, he's not going to go to them if they're a championship club, so he needs to make sure that they retain their SPFL status. And I can't believe I'm saying that about Aberdeen, given the resources that they're there. But you know, it's been, you know, they won the Scottish Cup last season, and here they are, you know, fighting relegation. But they should be okay, Aberdeen. But I wouldn't take it for granted.
Mark's on, a Celtic fan, saying, Peter, what did you feel about the goalkeeper, Kasper Schmeichel, at the weekend? Not at the Cup semi-final, but he was at Man City against Arsenal. What do you feel?
Well, unless he was down there getting something sorted with his shoulder, he should have been at Hampden Park watching his Sinisalo in goals, first and foremost his teammate, because he supported him for a long time, and that's his football club, and that's the football club that pays wages. He should have been there, unless the managers maybe gave him an opportunity to go down south to get something fixed. We don't know that, Paul.
Sure.
But if it's just on, he's decided to go to that game instead of the Celtic game, I'd be very, very disappointed, because that's your football club, and you should be there giving your support to a player, especially that player, because a goalkeeper's a different position, Paul. A player that supported you through difficult times, and he's been there for you. You should have been there for him, unless, as I say, the managers gave him time off for a reason to get down something to do with his family or his shoulder. But if you've got time to go to a game, it should have been at Celtic's game.
Well, I don't think Kasper Schmeichel's covered himself in glory, Paul, over the past few weeks, since basically he lost his place in the first team, and then all of a sudden he goes on TV with his dad and announces about his injury, which, you know, blindsided Celtic and Martin O'Neill, I think. So no, I don't think he's covered himself in glory. But you know what? He's yesterday's story now with Celtic. It's about Sinisalo and moving forward. And in terms of Celtic being where they are now, as in a cup final and still in the hunt for the title, I don't think that would have happened if Kasper Schmeichel had been in goals the past 4 or 5 weeks. So I think it's worked out very, very well for Celtic as a football team. Yeah,
Sinisalo has done well. Any update, Mark? More and more, we hear Robbie Keane's name mentioned as the next manager. If it's not Martin O'Neill,
I mean, I don't know if Celtic will offer the job to Martin O'Neill. I would like them to do so sooner rather than later, but that's up to Dermot Desmond and the hierarchy. But certainly Robbie Keane's a name in the frame, and it wouldn't surprise me if Robbie Keane's the manager next season.
Ferencvaros at the moment, but he said, look, he'd like bigger things. Peter, what's your latest on that? What do you think? He's the name. We hear other names as well, Craig Bellamy, but his name keeps coming up.
No, to be fair to Robbie, he's done fantastic wherever he's been, you know, and it just shows you, people talk about good players. Craig Bellamy's the exact same. Two of them are excellent footballers, but they have a great desire to get into football. They know a lot about football. They've got a great knowledge of football. It'll be interesting if that's the route Celtic go down again. But as I say, he's done a fantastic job where he's been. Craig's done fantastically well at Wales. Martin O'Neill's done fantastic for Celtic, you know, but he's in the seat, and I just don't see it being Martin now because of the fact that Celtic had announced that now. And that's the only problem I've got with that. Celtic could announce that now and let Martin say, right, Martin's going to be here. He's going to be the one that's making decisions on players, who's coming, who's going. This is who's going to strengthen the squad. He's going to do this rebuild for us. And if they're not doing that now, I don't see that happening, even though if Martin could end up winning the double, here's hoping.
Mark, it's going to be the time now. I'm thinking of the three managers, Derek McInnes, Danny Rule, Martin O'Neill. My goodness, the defining next, 6 weeks or so? And then we're going to find out.
We've got May 16th.
Yes.
It's all settled on May the 16th.
If 4 or 5 weeks.
If not before.
Wow.
So, it's brilliant, Paul. What a race we've got at the end of the season. And also a really good story behind the Scottish Cup final as well on May 23rd.
It's been really quiet from the Hearts camp, so they went to Spain. I take it they're back, Mark. They were
back.
They also La Manga.
Gearing up for the Edinburgh Derby at Easter Road on Sunday afternoon. Cracking game.
Yeah, what do you feel the psychology of this, Peter? Hibs, there's pressure on them as well. Thomas is listening in San Francisco. He'll be watching early in the morning.
Yeah, there is a pressure, Paul, and Hibs will want to beat Hearts. There's absolutely no doubt in that, and it'll be a crackery of a game. And all the games this season, I think you get the Derby, Paul. Everybody wants to win. You want to win it for your supporters. It's so important for them. And the Hibs fans don't want to come out there with Hearts going to be singing about being champions or whatever the hell, so they're not wanting that to be happening.
What do you think will happen?
I think Hearts will win.
You think Hearts are going to win?
Yes, I do.
At Easter Road. That's the 4:30 game. We won't see you until next week. What about then? It kicks off with Celtic Falkirk. What do you feel?
Celtic win.
Are you doing that on Celtic TV?
Yes, I am.
Yep.
Yes.
Commentary not to be missed there. So
Here's hoping.
And that's 5:30 on Saturday. And what about Rangers then? 3 o'clock Sunday against Motherwell.
Rangers will win. I think all three will win again this weekend. And I think Hearts, I've got a difficult game. Celtic, I've got a difficult game. Rangers, I've got all difficult games. But I just think we're having the home advantage. Rangers and Celtic have got slightly easier games in the respect of that. Because I think Falkirk have done remarkable. But I think the Celtic support will be in this week thinking, this is the last throw of the dice. If we don't win a home game, we'll lose the title. Yeah. And I think the team will have to start on the front foot. And if they can start the way they, as you said, did a 4-minute spell in the Cup semi-final, that's the way they'll need to start, but continue it. And the fans will be there right behind them. And I think that's why I fancy Celtic strongly at the weekend. And that's not against Falkirk. Yeah. I fancy Rangers because they think they're really close to it. And I think Hearts have just got enough with the likes of Shanklin and Braga to get a goal, which would be important for them because they can defend very well.
Peter, Mark, thank you so much.
Thanks, Paul.
Tomorrow night it's going to be Aidan McGeady and Kevin Kyle. We can look forward to that. Thanks to everyone, and good luck to Craig again that we spoke to in Kansas City. Thank you so much. The news is next then. Joe Day. We'll see you tomorrow night at 5.